Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing fine. From this video, we are going to start the actual syllabus for class 11th biology, unit 1, chapter 1, the living world. Let us now start the discussion. The slide here shows you the pictures of various living beings. It's not just the pictures, but shows you the diversity that is existing. Here is a tree. You can see the tree here. Here is a tree which is so tall and so big that the human beings posing in front of it are looking like insects. And the same way, here you can see the pic of the most famous and infamous coronavirus. That is a type of a virus which is impacting, all of us all across the globe. So can you say it? No, you cannot say it, and it's impacting us so badly. On the other hand, there are many living forms found in different parts of the globe, in the different biospheres. There are many millions of life forms found in the water bodies. And here you can see the picture of the gut bacteria. Can you believe these bacteria, they are found in your gut? And the good bacteria, they also aid in your digestive system. Likewise, you can find microbes in hot springs, in snow, and in other extreme environment where human beings can't even think of. They're diverse. The point where I'm trying to make is, you need to appreciate the beauty of diversity in the living forms. They are diverse in terms of their physical appearance. They are diverse in terms of their habitat, diverse in terms of their biological mechanisms, and so on. Here's a pic of an iceberg, you all know. The portion that you see above the sea level and the portion which is you cannot see is actually much bigger than the portion of the above the sea level. And here what I'm trying to say is whatever organisms or living organism that we have found or we have discovered is equal to the amount that we can see above the sea level. There are so many things undiscovered. There's so many things that we are not even aware of. So this is the complexity and the diversity of the living forms found in the world. Let us now begin. The first part, whenever we talk about living things, how will you define a living thing? How will you say something is living? Or when I say that this thing is living, how will you tell or justify, okay, these criteria are taking place, so this is living? There are two aspects. One is philosophical, next is technical. Philosophical we don't need. In case of technical, we will be defining it through certain criteria. Now what are those certain criteria will be studied? Number one is all living organisms grow. What do you mean by grow? Grow means increase in mass number and increase in number. There are two main features of the growth. Plants and animals, they exhibit different kinds of growth. For example, plants keep on dividing throughout their lifespan. The cell division happens in their body throughout their lifespan. But what happens in case of human body? Do you grow till your lifespan or do you grow throughout your life? No. You attain a certain height of your body till a particular age. Then you stop growing. But it doesn't mean that cell division is not taking place in your body. It does take place. It takes place for different functions. For example, the cell division takes place to replace the old damaged cells, new cells replacing the old damaged cells, and so on. But what about when you talk about growth and the growth increase in mass or increase in number? What about the mountains, sand dunes? What's happening there? In case of mountain, that the mountains you see today is not exactly what happened or how it was formed. If it takes millions of years or thousands of years to form the mountain or the rock, it happens by gradual deposition of the material, compression and pressurization, and many things happen. So to attain that height that we see today, they are also growing. So are they living? No, they are not living. Similarly, in case of sand dunes, you must have visited any desert, and then there you see sand dunes. What are sand dunes? Due to the wind, the wind is in desert area. Because of the wind, the sand dunes are formed. and they keep on depositing of the layers, and they form the sand dunes in various levels. So what do we say? Are they living? Neither mountains are living nor sand dunes are living. Then how we can say that growth is the defining character of living thing? That is why we cannot say like that. We cannot take growth as the sole defining property of living organisms. It is not the sole defining category property. It means it cannot be taken as a single criteria for defining a living organism. The next is, here you can see the spelling mistake, please, I'm sorry for that. We'll go further. The second criteria that we talk about is reproduction. What is reproduction? Reproduction is the ability to produce offsprings. Alright, fine. All living organisms, they reproduce. They give rise to their similar ones. And in case of sexual, they are less similar. In case of asexual, they are very much similar. They are copies of their parents. Now, in case of sexual reproduction, asexual, the definitions and everything will be studying in the later chapters of the book. Here we'll be only focusing, I'll tell you very basics. In case of sexual reproduction, the sexual gametes are formed, and the fusion of those gametes give rise to a new offspring. In case of multicellular organisms, a sexual thing take place. In case of multicellular and asexual, like fungi produce many asexual pores, so they give rise to new ones from there. In case of yeast and hydra, that is budding. In case of unicellular organisms, they grow, for example, bacteria or amoeba, they grow by binary fission. In case of unicellular organisms, it's really difficult to define reproduction and growth because cell division takes place. It gives rise to new cells. The daughter cells are exactly like the parent cell, and that is why reproduction is sometimes synonymous with the growth. Now, this is the new thing that you can see in a living organism. But what about the organisms which do not reproduce or which are not in the capacity to reproduce their offsprings? For example, sterile worker bees. I'll tell you very in brief what happens in a bee social hierarchy. In any hive, in any bee hive, you will find three kinds of bees. One is queen. Queen is female. Then drones. Drones are the male part. And workers. Workers are also female. But the difference between queen and worker is, in case of queen, the queen is fertile. In case of workers, workers are infertile. What happens is that in every hive, the queen is the basic job of queen is to lay eggs, and the drones, the male part, their job is to mate with the queen to produce the offsprings. And other than mating, workers do all the kinds of things. For example, gathering food, storing food, looking after the young ones, and so on. So do we say, okay, worker is infertile, incapable of reproducing, then does it mean that worker is non-living? No, worker is living. Then what happened? And the other case, you all are aware of infertile human couples. They, because of certain reasons, they are unable to reproduce. So are they non-living? No, they are very much living. Hence again, reproduction is not an all-inclusive defining characteristic of living organisms. We will come to the next part. The next criteria is metabolism. Metabolism is made up of two things, catabolism and anabolism. Anabolism means the formation of substances, and catabolism means the breakdown of substances to give rise to energy, and that energy is used in your body to do day-to-day activities. So overall, whatever chemical reactions happening inside a cell in a body in order to provide energy for vital functioning of the body is called as metabolism. Now this is simple. Living beings, many things are happening in their body chemical reactions and all. We do not see those things in case of a non-living thing. But Have you observed any kind of chemical reactions occurring in a non-living thing? No, obviously. Then what about your chemistry practical classes? You go to a chemistry practical class, you go to the labs and you conduct many reactions in vitro. In vitro means inside a test tube. There also formation of new things are happening. There also breakdown is happening. Chemical reactions are taking place. So does it mean it is a living thing? A test tube is a living thing or the chemicals are a living thing? No, they are not living thing. This is why chemical reactions taking place within a test tube is not living thing. However, those reactions are living reactions. It means if those reactions are taking place in a cell of a living organism, then that is a characteristic of living thing. Therefore, reactions or any metabolic activities taking place inside a cell becomes important, and that is why cellular organization is a defining. Here you can see the defining thing. Earlier in case of growth and in case of reduction, that's not the only defining, but here cellular organization is one of the defining features of life forms. That is important. Now we'll move to the next thing. The next is consciousness. Consciousness means awareness, the ability to sense their surroundings or environment and respond to these external stimuli. For example, as a human being, you wear sweater when you go to cold places. You start sweating when you are in the hot place, and when you touch a hot utensil, you feel the heat. Why is it happening? Because you are a living thing. You are responding to the external stimulus. If it is hot, you are sweating. If it is cold, you are wearing sweaters for some warmth, and so on. The same thing is happening in plants as well. In case of plants, for example, I'll take a very small example, photoperiodism. Photoperiodism is the length of time that a plant is exposed to a 24-hour period light. Now, different plants require a different length of light for their life cycles. So, they respond according to the length of the light they get during their daytime. Here you can see two pictures. In one picture, you are very well aware of this. That is the touch me not plant. What happens when you touch it? You know it very well. The second picture of sunflower, they always have their faces toward the sun. Why? Because of external stimulus. So consciousness becomes a part of a living thing. They respond. They take the stimulus and they respond according to it. Now we are clear with it. I'll ask you now, what is happening to those human beings, patients, which are lying in coma in the hospitals? You must have seen many movies or in TV that many patients, they are seen in coma in the TV and all, and they are supported by various kinds of machines. Machines are nothing but the machines are supporting the organs of the patient's body. They are brain dead. They are not responding to any external. You call them. You shout at them, or you call their names. They do not respond. They are brain dead. Then aren't they living? Obviously they are living. They are living things. Therefore, again, overall we'll come to the conclusion. In case of human beings, though it is complicated to define living in terms of consciousness, however, apart from human beings, all other living forms, be it any microbe or anything, they definitely respond to external stimuli through one way or the other. Therefore, consciousness becomes a defining feature. Next, therefore, now you have understood these 4 criteria are defined in your textbook. Now, one request I would like to make: whenever you start studying, whenever you're studying this, please sit with your books. Here you will be able to connect with what I'm teaching here, and also be able to highlight the important topics in the book itself. So it becomes easy when you revise it. So we defined here 4 main criteria of the living forms. So in overall, to define living organisms, one feature is never enough. You cannot define something so complex as living form just by a single property. In fact, it is a result of interactions happening at molecular level. In higher organisms, you will find cellular interactions giving rise to tissues function. Result of interactions happening at molecular level. In higher organisms, you will find cellular interactions give rise to tissues functioning, further give rise to a system, and that system we define as living. Therefore, we can say that living organisms are self-replicating, be able to reproduce their young ones or their offsprings, which are sometimes identical also to their parents, sometimes similar, not identical but similar, evolving, constantly evolving according to these situations, and self-regulating interactive systems, meaning many things are happening inside the cell, millions of cells happening, interacting with each other, and they're self-regulating as well, and they are very much capable of responding to external stimuli as well. These all criteria constitute a living world, and that is how we have concluded that not just one feature but many features which come together and function in a right way give rise to living forms. With this, we come to the end of today's discussion. Let us now take the question for the day.